Hello, beautiful children. It is wonderful and amazing to see you in my mind's eye, and some of you in shul on Shabbat. And please God, tomorrow and on Tuesday for the Festival of Shavuot in shul, for those of the 15 of you who are able to book, and those who aren't, here I am, you can watch me in person. Okay, so are we ready to roll back the time? Rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and one more, rolling back the time, and thinking and thinking and thinking. What parsha are we in? Today I'm doing this on Sunday, the day before Shavuot, because we've got a very short week and poor Shimon has got so much to do and parents have to book and they're all busy. So I'm trying to do my parsha for next week, for Parashat Naso, in advance, really in advance. Okay, so what is this week's parsha? I've just told you it is Parashat Naso. In which book of the Torah do we find it? We find it in the fourth book of the Torah called Bamidbar. And what's happening in this week's parsha? Well, I don't think it matters if we go over a little bit. There's a little bit of colliding of the facts. So let's go over it again. We know that the tribe of Levi has been split into three groups for the purpose of carrying the things in Hashem's special tent. What is Hashem's special tent, children? You should all be shouting and screaming, the Mishkan. So the Gershon family, mi ben 30 shana v'mala v'ad ben 50 shana, it's between 30 and 50 years old for the Leviim, they are carrying all the woven materials. For those of you who've been in shul, you will be able to see when we sit in the ladies' gallery with the rows all apart from each other, but you can look down and see the men's section of the shul, and where the aron, where the cupboard is, it's not a broom cupboard and it's not a kitchen cupboard, it's a very special cupboard. It's got the Sifrei Torah, it's got the Torah inside, and it's covered by wooden doors which have a blue curtain, So the Gershon family carried all the woven materials, like the curtains, on the wagons. And according to Rashi, the two wagons that they used were not covered. And what's the wagons got to do with things this week? Well, in this week, we learn about the Nesiim, the princes or tribal leaders of each tribe that hadn't given gifts or had forgotten or thought they'd wait until everybody else gave gifts and donations for the Mishkan, and then said that they were going to give their gifts. So part of their gifts were 6 wagons, 4 for the Merari group and 2 for the Gershon group. So the Gershon group were carrying the curtains. What about the Merari group? What were they carrying? Well, they had 4 wagons, as we've said. I hope you can see this. They had 4 wagons, and they were carrying some heavy stuff. Mi ben 30 shana v'mala ad ben 50 shana, from 30 until 50 years. They were carrying, the Levite family of Merari were transporting, carrying the Mishkan's boards on 4 wagons. And according to Rashi, that special commentator, that special rabbi who explained so many things about the Torah to us and whom we use today so many years later, he explained that the wagons were covered, but we're seeing them uncovered so that you can see what they were carrying. So the Merari family were carrying the planks and the wood, which leaves us the Kahas family, part of the Levites, the Kahas family. And what were they carrying? They were carrying the holiest objects of the Mishkan, the Aron, the shulchan, the table that used to have the breads on it, the menorah, not like a Chanukiah menorah, it had 7 branches, the 2 altars, the mizbeach and a choshet, the copper altar for presents to Hashem, and the mizbeach hazahav, the special golden altar, which was for incense, which would come in a special golden spoon. Okay, and they also carried all the other instruments used with these objects, and the parochet, the curtain that divided the Kodesh from the Kodesh HaKodashim. And the Gershon family, as we learned, they carried the Mishkan's woven materials, the curtains that formed the walls and the roof of the Mishkan, the net curtains that enclosed the yard. Have you got curtains in your house or blinds? We've got blinds here. Chloe's got curtains in her room. Go around your house. Obviously, don't go into your siblings' rooms or parents' rooms without permission, but go around your house and see what kind of curtains or blinds you have. the masach, the entrance curtain, and the ropes with which the Mishkan, the tent, was tied. And the Merari, as we explained before, they carried mainly the wooden parts of the Mishkan, the wooden boards, the poles, the pillars, the adanim, the sockets of the Mishkan and of the yard. Maybe some of your, maybe somebody's got in a family an architect, somebody who's in charge of having buildings made, and they will understand a lot about sockets, or engineers, they may understand about balls and sockets. Maybe you like things like that, or maybe you've got like a Meccano, or maybe even in Lego. It's not really sockets, but maybe you like to build things. A lot of people love Lego. I know a lot of the children from my children's service loved Lego, and the ones that I honoured, there was a lot of Lego projects being done. So maybe you can do it with your Lego. Like one child did a sort of a Bet Mikdash, which was amazing. So maybe you can do that with your Lego from the information that you've got. And they also, the Merari family, carried the ropes used to tie the net curtains of the yard. So back to the presents that the Nesiim decided to give, to donate for the building of the Mishkan. What did they donate? Well, they donated a silver dish. Can you see this silver dish? They donated a silver dish weighing 130 shekels. Then they donated another thin silver dish, which about weighing 70 shekels, a thin silver bowl. Then I didn't have a golden spoon. Maybe you've got them at home, but I just coloured my plastic spoon in with a gold colour. You could do that as well. You could make these things up yourself. A golden spoon. Then they gave the bull. Then they gave the ram. Then they gave the lamb for the Ola offering. Hello, lamb. Say hello. And then they also gave a male goat. Hello, goat. Hello. And they, as a donation offering for the Chatas offering. I don't have oxen. They gave 2 oxen. They gave 5 rams. They gave 5 male goats. They gave 5 lambs, all for the presents to Hashem. And all of the Nesiim gave the same thing. So nobody tried to outdo the other. They all gave exactly the same, all 12 of them. And of course, they gave the special precious jewels that were needed for the Choshen Mishpat, for the breastplate. And of course, we already discussed the fact that they gave the 6 wagons that were needed to transport all the things that the families had to carry. But the Kahas family had to carry, the carrying that they did, actually, they had to carry it all by themselves. They didn't have any wagons. Here they are, carrying it all by themselves. They had to carry the very holiest items by themselves. But the others were able to use wagons. So those were the presents from the Nesiim, which was absolutely amazing. Okay, and what else do we learn in this week's Parsha? Well, we learn about such a thing as a Nazir. A Nazir. What was the Nazir? What was he or she like? What were they like? What did they do? What did they not do? Well, a Nazir was not allowed to comb their hair. Not allowed to comb. This is not a comb, it's a brush, but I couldn't find a comb, so I know you'll understand. They weren't allowed to comb their hair. They weren't allowed to have any grape juice or any grapes or any vinegar or any raisins. Did you know that raisins are dried grapes? There you go. They weren't allowed to have that. Miyayin v'sechar yazir ometz yayin. V'chometz sechar lo yishteh. V'chol mishvat anavim lo yishteh. V'anavim lechayim v'yeveshim lo yochal. None of those things. No grape juice, no wine, no raisins, no vinegar. They may not have it. Okay, well, how about a story about a famous Nazir then? Let's see if we can think of a very famous Nazir. Maybe you already know, maybe your mummies and daddies know the story as well. I hope I do justice to the story. Well, in the time of the judges, when the Pelishtim were being particularly naughty in Eretz Israel, a long, long time ago, there was a very famous Nazir, a little boy who was going to be born to a daddy called Manoach and a mummy called Tzlelponi. SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Medrash, that Tzlelponi was much better than the daddy, that she was actually a very good person. Not sure what Manoach was like. Maybe he was good too, but we're told that she was even better. And they wanted to have a baby very badly. And an angel came to them and said, you're going to have a baby boy, but that little baby boy must be brought up as a Nazir. And Tzlelponi, for as long as you have this little baby boy in your tummy, you must also avoid the foods that a Nazir may not have. Now, you should all be shouting out. So what could she not have in her pregnancy? No wine, no raisins, no grapes, no grape juice, no vinegar. But also, a Nazir is not allowed, not only just not to comb his hair and never to cut his hair while he is a Nazir, and the minimum time you can be a Nazir or Nazirah is 30 days. Okay, we don't have it now, but in those days. And they warned her, do not let your child go through a vineyard, because even the temptation of being around grapes, don't drink grapes, don't have alcohol from the wine, etc. So this beautiful little boy Shimshon was born, and his mummy and daddy kept their word, and they made sure that his hair was not cut and that he lived his life as a Nazir. And the story goes that one day they wanted to go somewhere, and it would be a quicker route to go through the vineyard, but they told him that he couldn't go through a vineyard. So he had to go the long way round, and in those days there were wild animals in the country. Now there aren't, not where Eretz Israel is anyway. And he came face to face with a lion, a young lion, raw, scary. Not in a zoo or on safari, but right in front of him. And he managed to overcome the lion. And he grew up, and he had a partner who was not very nice called Delilah. And she actually came from the Pelishtim, and she wanted to know what was the secret of all his strength. And all the Pelishtim princes came to her and said, Delilah, we will give you 1,100 silver pieces if you tell us what the source of Shimshon's strength is, because we're losing all the battles against him. So Delilah kept asking, oh, Samson, maybe she called him Samson instead of Shimshon. Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? Shimshon wouldn't tell her. Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? Still wouldn't tell her. Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? She was starting to get on his nerves. And he said, oh, my strength comes from 7 strings, tie me in 7 strings. And she did. And she told the Pelishtim to come. But of course, it was nothing to do with 7 strings, so he could break it open. She was very upset. You're supposed to tell me everything. I'm your partner. Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? Driving him mad. Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? You know, like sometimes we can be a bit of a nuisance to our mummies and daddies as well, but they know how to deal with us. So he said, well, tie me in 7 ropes. So she did. But of course he broke 3 of them. Oh, you are really mean, Samson. You're supposed to tell me where your strength is. We're partners. Why don't you tell me the truth? Oh, Samson, can you tell me where your strength is? And this went on and on. Oh, Samson. For the purpose of the story, I'm going to say it's in the middle of the night. Can you tell me where your strength is? Samson said, enough. I am a Nazir. My strength is from God. And then Delilah knew he was telling the truth. I have never combed my hair. My strength is in my hair. If you cut 7 locks of my hair, I will lose my strength. Now, children, I'm not going to do it because my hairdresser would have something to say about it, and mummies and daddies would have something to say about it if you did it. But 1, 2 when he was asleep, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She cut 7 locks out of his hair. O Pelishtim, come and see where his strength is, she calls the Pelishtim. O Pelishtim, come and see where Samson's strength is. And Shimshon was weak. Samson had no strength left, and they took him and they hurt him. His strength, it looks like, had gone because he told her the secret of his strength. It was in his hair. It was a present from God. Very sad. But there was one thing that happened, that Shimshon, Samson, davened to Hashem and said, please Hashem, just give me one last chance to conquer the Pelishtim, to do something. And all the 20 years that I've been a Nazir, I've always fought for the Israelites and I've always overcome the Pelishtim. Give me just one more chance. And the Pelishtim had a party where they wanted to show him off as being weak so everybody could make fun of him. And they put him in between 2 pillars, heavy roof, 2 pillars. And Shimshon said, please Hashem, give me strength one more time to get rid of these Pelishtim. So Hashem gave him the strength and he pulled the pillars down. And the Pelishtim that were at that party, he got rid of them. So that's a story about Shimshon. There was also a very famous non-Jewish queen, Helena. She was a Nazirah, SPS, some people say, aka also known as the Medrash, for 21 years, because every time she wanted to do it for 7 years, there was another reason why she had to stop. Once she did it and it was outside of Israel and you had to keep the laws inside of Israel, and once because she came into contact with something, and once because, so it's 21 years, a long time to be a Nazir or a Nazirah. Hope you've enjoyed that. Listen to your mummies and daddies and do what they say. Listen to your mummies and daddies. Please don't forget to pray. Listen to your mummies and daddies. The rabbis lead the way. Then they will be happy. Enjoy. I can't wait. It's nearly Shavuot. But by the time you see this, Shavuot will be over and it will be time for the Parsha. Bye.